My dad's had real challenging health issues. A stroke, he was going to need a lot of rehab. We moved Dad to a facility, and I got a call, and it was the wellness director, and she goes, "I'm really concerned about your dad. We found him by himself in the fire escape going up and down the stairwell." When we said, "Why are you here? What's going on?" He said, "Climb the mountain, climb the mountain. I'm training to climb the mountain. Is your dad okay?"
My name is Jim Moy. I was born in 1934 in Middle Georgia. Grew up very independent. At the age of 10, going into the woods, handling a gun. World War II was coming on us.
His dad was called off to service and told my dad before he left, you're the oldest boy, and so you are now the man of the house.
I was old enough to hear the news on the radio that we were going to lose thousands upon thousands of men.
Someone from the Army gave him the news. His Uncle Frank had been killed. That really affected him to know, hey, my dad could get killed in the war.
Even though this 9-year-old boy was worried, he knew that he had to take care of his family, and he went to work.
I had had an experience with a little girl that I was infatuated with. As far as I was concerned, I was in love. And she dumped me. I decided to become a football, basketball, and baseball player. But it was all pride related to attract the opposite sex.
He was captain of the basketball team, football team, the class president. Mr. Moy was a young man that everyone admired, voted most likely to succeed. He was the valedictorian. He also happened to marry the homecoming queen. He went to Georgia Tech, was very successful there, and started his own business, Moy Financial.
Jim Moy was really a pioneer in seeing the future of what was going to be coming in the financial services world.
He's just determined, an unstoppable force in search of an immovable object, waiting for a mountain to get in the way of him so he can hammer it.
My desire to achieve success took me to focusing a lot of my time on winning. The more money that you made, to make the $1 Million Round Table, top 50 in the nation, the more house that you had. It dovetailed nicely with putting food on the table. I was highly motivated by ego, success being performance. I always wanted to be Sarah's hero and my children's hero. But it was all pride related.
Dad's always faced challenge with a resolve and an intensity.
Someone who was an encourager to me, but someone who was very stern.
A man's man conquered whatever was in front of him, winning the contest, didn't take any abuse from anybody.
My dad was a hard man.
Because of the emotional trauma that Mr. Moy suffered early on in his life and the coping mechanisms that he used, I think he struggled to emotionally connect with his family.
Chasing money and wealth to the detriment of your marriage.
He had a good, solid moral compass. He just didn't follow it.
It's a place any of us could find ourselves falling into.
My wife had clinical depression. And I was always one to get your act together, get on, get the job done. I never let Sarah into my world.
They would do the best they could. But my household was a wreck, an emotional wreck. They were good at hiding it, but they were going to get a divorce. And I'm not going with either one of them.
We were emotionally divorced. After much time with psychiatrists and group therapy, I focused on myself. I deserve better. Just waiting on the right time to finish it off.
A friend of his had gone to this seminar and then got remarried to his wife. He challenged my dad and said, "You always say that you're intellectually honest. And so I'm challenging you to go to this Christian seminar before you call it quits with Sarah." He went to the seminar and it rocked him.
And I told the Lord, I said, "Jesus, I believe you're who you say you are. And I'd like to become a secret Christian. You don't want to accept the Lord and then get a divorce immediately." The Bible began to come alive to me. As I was reading it, I found out that you really could not be a secret Christian. Ours is one of sharing our faith with others. Let your light so shine before men. One day, the thought came to me, are you willing to lose your life for my sake? And I said, yes, Lord, I'll take a bullet any time. He says, that's not what I mean. Are you willing to serve your wife for the rest of your life? Are you willing to give up your life, lose your life, to serve her for the rest of your life? I said, yes, Lord. And then he said, I'll give you many descendants. Spiritual and biological men and women of God.
Each day he followed Jesus in his marriage.
And to see how different he was, you would not even know the man as the man that raised me.
It was a dark, angry house. Then the lights all came on, and there was music playing.
The reason that I went into business for myself was to not have to be under authority. But God wanted me to come under his authority, to give up control to him. So I invited all the people at the regular Monday morning meeting.
There were 6, 7, maybe 8 of us young guys.
And I came in with a Bible.
This big green living Bible. And he had that right in front of him. And I remember his words. He says, "Gentlemen, my life has changed." And he proceeded to say why and how.
I says, guys, I want you to know that my life has completely turned around.
It may be that some of y'all won't want to stay here anymore. I just don't know. But I'm different.
I expected every last one of them to walk out.
And that's how his insurance company went from that point on. It was always about Jesus. It wasn't about selling insurance.
What Christ did in his life and in Mom's life From the time they became followers of Christ when I was a sophomore in college to even today, to see how Jesus makes all things new.
So my business prospered, my marriage prospered.
To the casual observer, he might look like he's lived a charmed life. But there have been some serious blows that Jim has sustained.
Tragically, Jim Jr. developed a brain tumor. 9 months later, he passed away.
And Sarah developed lupus, and as she got sicker and sicker, I still took joy out of being able to be the caregiver.
And I saw him love her and care for her and put her as a priority throughout all the last probably 20 years of her life.
Poppy had a very unconditional love for Mama Sarah. He never wanted to lose a moment. It was almost like he was trying to make up for lost time.
His heart, his intention, and his mission was to love like Christ.
The best memories that I had with my dad, good memories. Dad and I would take some trips in an area of North Carolina called Sam's Gap. My dad used to own a piece of the Appalachian Trail, 136 acres of property, totally for commercial purposes. But the government wanted that property bad. Once Dad became a Christian, that property took on a whole different significance for him. A lot of the people that are walking up and down the Appalachian Trail are trying to find something. Somewhere in his mind, he got the idea that he wanted to put a monument up on the Appalachian Trail.
That will be the only place that the name of Jesus will be mentioned on public land for the whole 2,176 miles of the Appalachian Trail.
So Dad eventually realized we're not going to be able to hold on to it. And the government was now closing in on condemning the property. But my dad said, now I'm going to ask for a monument to be put up there, and here's what I want to be on the monument. And he actually wrote it out. And he said, I'm going to ask for it. And I said, well, you need to ask for that language to be put in the deed. Because if it's just a letter, somebody somewhere is going to renege on it. But if it's in the deed, they got a real problem on reneging on it. The head ranger says, great news, we've got your price. And that's when Dad said, I need this, I'm willing to agree to it, but this final thing here, I want that monument to be in the deed. And the ranger said, I don't know that I can do that, Mr. Moy. He stepped out of the office and he called somebody back in Washington, D.C. 15 minutes later, he came back into the conference room and he said, you've got a deal. It's a God story. How the U.S. government helped us get this 2,000-pound piece of granite up the hill on the Appalachian Trail. Recently, my dad's had some real challenging health issues. We moved Dad to an assisted living community. I got a call from the wellness director. I said, hey, Yvette, what's going on? She said, well, I'm really concerned about your dad. I said, really? Why? What's going on? She said, we found him by himself in the fire escape stairwell, going up and down the stairwell. He said, when we said, why are you here? What's going on, Mr. Moy? He said, I'm training to climb the mountain. Is your dad okay? You could tell they were really worried. Thought about it a second. I said, Yvette, he actually is training to climb the mountain.
For me at 89 years old, virtually blind, have to have people to help me with all of these struggles. But my strength comes from the joy of the Lord. The joy of the Lord is my strength.
We all have a path that we have to walk. God never promises us there won't be challenges along the journey, but He always gives us people along the way to show us that we're on the right path. Mr. Moy served as a marker in my life for 50 years.
You only get a half a view or a partial view of a human being on the mountaintops. What you see, what God is doing in them, you really see in the valleys. You have a son who's just gone from you, a wife who's gone. Life will do that to you, sending you the signal that this is not permanent. This too shall pass away. But at the same time, what you do leave is a life legacy.
He grieves Mama Sarah, but at the same time, he's able to see past that and to see the bigger picture. He never forgets that he'll be reunited one day and that there's not much time before that happens, and then it'll be for eternity.
This monument up on the Appalachian Trail, it's a symbol of Christ in his life and in the life of his family. That's going to go well past his life.
Look at your life and understand that life is bigger than yourself. No matter what your age, no matter what your circumstances, when you're giving your life for the right things, things that don't burn up, I would say to you, what are you giving your life to?